This is Nick.
This is Jack.
It's Friday, the real Friday, May 13th, and today's pod is the best one yet.
Today's pod, it's also the last day of voting for our podcast audience nickname.
Hey, Wolf Blitzer, can you whip up the results for us over on YouTube?
And there's also one more write-in candidate.
There is.
Yesties, for those who can't decide.
It's coming from the 18th district of Instagram. We saw the comments on this thing. Yesties.
Not Betties, not Yetis.
No.
Yesties.
But Jack, what's our first story?
Disney just announced X million new subscribers to Disney Plus.
Now, Jack and I aren't talking about that. What we're talking about is their 500 Disney schmovies.
For our second story, there's leather, there's pleather,
and now there's leather, as in lab-grown leather.
Yeah, that's what Vitro is working. And for our third and final story, we're looking at Airbnb. They're bringing back the travel agent.
Yeah, not Debbie, that lovely lady in town who booked your parents' honeymoon 30 years ago.
No, Airbnb's travel agent is the I'm Flexible button on their app.
I'm Flexible new thing.
But before we hit that wonderful mix.
Perfect mix to end the week on, Jack. I love this mix.
This weekend, we recommend you catch up on some sleep.
Jack, are you going to pop a melatonin or are you going to hide your alarm or both?
Forget brunch. Wake me up for dunch or lupper.
Good morning, 11:26 a.m.
Well, according to new research, the direction you sleep can determine the fate and the quality of your sleep.
Yeah, now Jack and I aren't talking about right to left. We're not talking about lying on your stomach or lying on your back.
We're talking about lying north or lying south.
Yeah, research shows that animals typically rest with their bodies facing north-south.
Fascinating. It's like a crop circle.
Yeah. Those llamas want to align with the north-south magnetic field.
Well, it's not just animals. Recent studies show that sleeping north-south also helps humans sleep better.
Yeah, what we're saying is north-south, more snooze, east-west, less rest.
If you think about it, our north pole of our bodies is our head. So it makes sense that you should point south.
Because opposites attract ipso facto.
So whip out a compass before you toss on the night zero.
Find the North Star and then turn 180 degrees.
If you're sleeping in this weekend, go for the longitude.
Ignore the latitude.
Check the coordinates as you hit the head.
Let's hit our three stories.
15 years before this song, two boys from the Northeast met in a dorm. They had an idea that caused a cultural storm. It's the best one yet, but the best is the norm. Jack, Nick, that's it. I don't even think they need to practice. 50%, that's a fat tip. T-Boy City on your at-list. If you know, cause we ready to go. We can't wait no more, so just start the show. Start the show.
For our first story, Disney just reported earnings, and it has 5 blockbusters coming out this year.
We think the real story about Disney is its JV movies, like the one about Buzz Lightyear.
Oh, more to come on that. In the meantime, Jack, can I interest you in a giant turkey leg? You know what I'm talking about.
Disney just announced that their theme park sales last quarter doubled from the year before.
Which basically means there are more people waiting in line to spin a teacup for 3 hours.
Spin in a teacup, not spin a teacup.
It's you gotta spin with your back.
Oh yeah, I forgot. You do spin it yourself, don't you?
A lot of parents herniating discs on that thing, let me tell you, Jack. Now, also, Disney announced they had a jump in Disney Plus subscribers, right, Jack?
They got 138 million people playing for Disney Plus.
But there was one underreported number no one was talking about that Jack and I were shocked by.
Disney executives mentioned casually that they have 500 movies and shows in production right now.
Oh, we repeat, Disney's working on 500 movies before the end of this year. Jack, what's going on?
We all hear about Doctor Strange and Encanto. There are 498 more that we haven't seen yet that are coming.
And no, we don't know if one of them is Mighty Ducks D6, Revenge of Coach Bags.
Revenge of the Geese.
You know what we're talking about. But in the meantime, besties, Yetis, Yesties, Disney's secret power, it isn't varsity movies. Jack and I think Disney's secret power is the junior varsity movies.
Well, Disney does varsity movies great. It's just not a secret.
Exactly. So right now, don't think of Disney as like creative entertainment. Disney is a content factory.
They have hundreds of movies they're working on for outside the US in a language that's not English.
And those movies are based on characters that you might have kind of heard of.
Yeah, like Nemo. Not the little goldfish that gets lost.
No, great movie.
And I know it's not a goldfish. I'm going to get a bunch of corrections tomorrow.
This is Nemo, a film in India Disney's working on based on the captain from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Captain Nemo, Jules Verne.
Here in the U.S., Disney's working on hundreds of origin story and spin-off schmovies.
Right. And in these origin story and spin-off JV movies, they take a supporting character from a movie we've seen and they make that supporting character the leading character.
Disney's like, hey, Buzz Lightyear, we got to talk to you and your agent. Are you sick of being in Woody's shadow for the last decade?
Oh, you got a snake in your boots, Woody? Let me show you a boot.
They're like, boom, Buzz Lightyear, you get your own origin story.
And that's happening. It's called Lightyear. It comes out later this year.
Disney's whipping up a 2-hour flick on teenage Buzz finding himself on planet Morph.
And let's look at Star Wars. One random bounty hunter from the original
One
movies.
dude.
One bounty hunter.
One dude.
Already has 3 seasons of schmovie gold on Disney+.
What Jack and I are trying to tell you, JV movie characters are getting promoted to varsity over at Disney. So Jack, what is the takeaway for our buddies over at Disney?
Name recognition matters.
500 JV movies are in production at Disney. That's a lot. But you know what? Netflix has a lot of movies in production too.
True, but here's the difference. Disney's obscure spinoffs, they're actually not that obscure.
Like, you already know who Buzz is, so it's easy for Disney to convert you to watch a Lightyear schmovie.
Netflix, on the other hand, what is Ozarks? Netflix had to educate you and sell you, and that took a lot of energy.
So Netflix, they can't tug at your nostalgia, but Disney, they can.
And they're whipping up 500 movies right now to do just that.
Here's the way we see this. In a ballot box, you may just vote for the county commissioner whose name you know.
On Friday night, you might just start the schmovie whose name you know.
Because name recognition matters. For our second story, poll update. Jack, poll update. Any updates?
No,
Who's pulling ahead?
we're not giving any updates until Monday.
The regulators are getting tough. Vitro Labs, our second story. They just raised $46 million for fake leather.
Not pleather.
No.
Not mushroom leather.
No.
Lab-grown rawhide.
Jack, if you're a cow and you're enjoying the pastures out there are 2 things you're really into right now. One of them is Oatly oat milk. The other one is what we're about to talk about.
Vitro Labs, we went to the website, and this is what they say. A single biopsy from this cow, and then there's a happy-looking cow, can make millions of leather handbags.
All while she remains grazing happily right where we left her.
Real cow leather, but no cow has been harmed because the leather is grown in a lab.
What In Vitro Labs is creating is the biggest development for leather chaps since the cowboy.
Now, there's actually been $1 billion of venture capital investments into startups like this, making alternative materials that replicate animal materials.
And just for us to sprinkle on a little more T-Boy context on this, that's $1 billion into alt leather startups in just the last year.
Not just leather, also fur and ivory and other animal parts that we want to wear on our bodies for some reason.
Now, Jack and I jumped in T-Boy style, and here's the interesting thing we noticed. Alt leather as a market, it's actually becoming split in 2 different directions.
You have the fully fake stuff, like the straight up, this is artificial.
Classics.
And then you have the intensely natural knockoff.
Okay, on the fully fake end, you have pleather.
Plastic leather.
Pleather, institutional. This thing is classic.
It goes back 100 years, and it solves the animal cruelty issue, but it doesn't solve the climate issue.
That's the problem. Pleather still uses plastic, which is made from petroleum.
And then on the intensely natural end, you have mushroom leather, plant-based leather.
But then here is the problem with plant-based leather, right, Jack?
It solves the sustainability issue, but you're wearing fungi, and that's...
Yeah, people are like, you like my handbag? It's my Ataki.
Is your handbag growing? Yeah, I think it's still growing.
Yes, you can eat my handbag.
Yeah, if I leave it in a dark, moist place, it does keep growing.
That's kind of a problem. So what Jack and I found fascinating about Vitro Labs is within this broad spectrum, it's trying to thread a needle on a very new thing.
Real leather, but grown in a lab.
Exactly. If it sounds like Vitro Labs is growing skin, it's because they are literally growing cow skin. That is what they're doing.
Yeah, we saw this in food with lab-grown beef and lab-grown fish and other actual fish and beef products, just no animals harmed.
So Vitro is the same lab concept, but it's applied to materials, not to food. So Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Vitro Labs?
Sometimes partnerships make the product.
Okay, the most interesting part of this leather startup, we think, is not the leather, it's who's investing in it.
Vitro's biggest investor is also a future customer. the parent company of Gucci.
Yeah, Vitro knows that not everyone may be into a leather handbag that is grown in a beaker.
But their new concept gets validation because of who is investing in the company and who's going to sell the product.
Yeah, if Gucci's pumping out $1,000 boots in Vitro's fake leather, then that validates this lab-grown leather.
Probably don't like it that you call it fake, by the way.
Because technically, it's not fake leather.
In this case, the partnership with Gucci could make the product.
And now word about our sponsor, Robinhood.
Nick and I got to know Vlad and Beju, the co-founders of Robinhood, when we worked there for 3 years.
And there was this one business principle we heard from them, and we honestly loved it.
ABL. Always be launching.
Always be launching. That's what keeps customers engaged, it keeps investors happy, and it keeps competitors kind of concerned.
Always be launching is also consistent with Robinhood's mission to democratize finance for all.
Yeah, not just stock trading, also options, crypto, spending, wallets, and more.
They launched a lot of stuff. And that's something we heard, we saw, and we adopted.
Yeah, this week we relaunched the podcast as the best one yet and launched a video pod right here. More to come.
If you're not on Robinhood yet and want to get started, go to Robinhood.com/TBoy and choose your free stock.
That's Robinhood.com/TBOY. Certain limitations apply. All investments involve risk.
Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. By the way, Robinhood is no longer affiliated with us or this podcast.
For our third and final story before the weekend, Airbnb just announced the biggest change to Airbnb in a decade.
When you say, I'm flexible, Airbnb becomes your travel agent.
Jack, last time we discussed Airbnb, a couple weeks ago, the work from anywhere policy. New thing.
We said it wasn't an HR move, their work from anywhere policy. That was a PR move.
Well, we just got some data in and it was.
Yeah, since announcing work from anywhere, 1 million people have visited Airbnb's career page.
This was some good PR for Airbnb.
And that's a company of only 6,000 jobs right now.
Yeah, that announcement was for the outside world to hear. It wasn't just for inside Airbnb.
Well, Airbnb just upped their own ante by announcing what they called the biggest change to Airbnb in a decade.
Their PR team is like, pew, pew, pew. They're just firing on all cylinders right now.
Here's what the CEO, Brian Chesky, said he did past few months. He watched Emily in Paris like we all did.
Will she find love? I don't know. Stay tuned till season 3.
Well, Brian said that everyone who watched that show grabbed their phone, opened up the Airbnb app, and searched for a place in Paris to visit.
But like, I want to stay wherever Gabrielle is staying on the 5th floor. If you know, you know.
Here's the problem. Tens of millions of people watch that show. And if they all try to find a place in Paris, there simply aren't enough baguettes for Emily in Paris fans.
Good thing is, Gabrielle also is a chef. So maybe get one of Gabrielle's croissants.
Now, Brian Chesky believes people don't want Paris. They just want the Frenchness of that show.
Exactly. And Airbnb knows that there are not enough flats in Paris on Airbnb, but there are enough flats across the country of France.
So this latest redesign of the app, it's to redistribute travel, Brian Chesky said.
Key word, to redistribute travel, because Airbnb has a unique ability.
Their redesign will get people away from just Paris, but into other similarly French experiences.
So, Jack, instead of searching for Paris, you're going to put in that you're searching for a romantic European city.
Exactly.
So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Airbnb?
Airbnb is using tech to become a travel agent.
Besties, Yetis, booking platforms, they are endless. They are focused on execution. We're talking Kayak, Expedia, Marriott, Execute.
But Airbnb's new redesign, it makes it not just a tool to execute the trip that you've told them you want to have.
Exactly. It's not execution. It's discovery. Airbnb shows you a trip you didn't even know existed, like that townhouse in Toulouse.
And the key to this redesign is the I'm flexible button.
Yes.
Airbnb wants you to push I'm flexible.
I'm flexible doesn't just mean any time in August. It means anywhere in August.
Right. With this redesign, you're going to tell Airbnb what type of place you're looking for, not where or when. And it's going to be based on their 56 categories.
So you're searching for amazing views or iconic cities or vineyards or surfing. And then Airbnb, they show you the options.
And Airbnb has data on all 6 million listings using machine learning to categorize the places.
So when you combine that data with your flexibility, Airbnb just became a techified travel agent. Jack, can you whip up the takeaways for our yesties over there?
Disney is working on 500 movies, most of them starring JV characters.
But you've heard Buzz Lightyear's name, and name recognition matters.
For our second story, Vitro Labs found a formula for lab-grown leather.
It's all about the partnership with Gucci that makes the product.
For our third and final story, Airbnb's new redesign will redistribute travel, not just to the top tourist towns.
Airbnb, it just became a techified travel agent. Now, time for the best fact yet. This one DM'd to us from Ryan Carter over in lovely Anchorage, Alaska.
Last week, we were talking about Qantas Airlines and their 20-hour flight.
The longest commercial airline flight in history from Qantas Airlines.
It's such a long flight, they have a wellness center in the plane.
Well, Jack and I were curious, why is there no U in the name Qantas Airlines?
After every Q, there's got to be a U.
Pretty sure we learned that one a while ago.
Well, it's because Qantas is actually an acronym.
Yeah, Qantas Airlines actually stands for Queensland and Northern Territory Aerial Services. Again, this is an Australian airline.
So there is a U. It just got abbreviated out.
Speaking of U's, Jack, you and I have got a lot of counting to do this weekend. The ballots.
Saturday and Sunday, we have to manually count up the comments you've made on our Instagram post voting for Yetis or Besties.
We're going to announce on Monday, is it Betties or is it Yesties? Actually, I'm sorry. Is it Besties or is it Yetis?
I'm probably going to get a paper cut counting up all these ballots.
Jack, we got to get those lemons. You touch the lemon and then you can separate the ballots.
Yeah. Let's hope there's no hanging chads.
Speaking of hanging chads, we're going to see you on Monday. Announcement Monday.
See you Monday.
And before we go, congratulations to Lindsay Cuzzu, promoted to Major in the U.S. Army. Jack, one of the highest ranking women in all of field artillery.
I think that means you can order your husband to give you a foot rub and he must obey.
Get your 6.
And congrats to AR Data Boy, who just graduated from Wharton.
And Kristen Royster's graduating with an MBA down in Chapel Hill.
Congrats to Stephen Morgan for the new gig in Washington, D.C.
Jennifer Stoddard, enjoy that new MBA over in Kansas.
Congrats to Leah Martin, who just got in to medical school.
And Bryce, Macy, Tao, Alex, and Sarah just finished their Amazon Savvy capstone project all together. Get an A.
Happy 9th birthday to Anthony Sarmiento in Westlake, Ohio.
Happy birthday to Luna Goodale, who's T-boying with her mom in San Francisco.
And happy birthday to Marie Kate Mandel in Austin, Texas.
And Mark Wee is turning 40 in Vancouver.
Happy birthday to Xander Atienza in Chesapeake, Virginia.
And happy birthday to Ezekiel Mustache Snoozy in Ithaca, New York.
Happy birthday to Marwan Topkara in Westchester, New York.
And Will Tran in Davis, California.
And Demike Suarez in Chicago.
And Yesenia is turning 27 in Rancho Cucamonga, California.
And to anyone else celebrating something today, make it a T-boy.
Celebrate the wins.
This is Jack. I own stock of Disney and Netflix, and we both own stock of Robinhood and Airbnb.
And now a word about our sponsor, Robinhood.
Funny little thing about the Robinhood logo.
Okay, go look at it right now. Most people, you just see a feather. Robinhood's feather in a cap. Pretty classic.
But it also looks like something else.
If you look closer, you may see an arrow pointing up to the right.
Yeah, the Robinhood logo. Nice little Easter egg in there. It's not just a feather. It also symbolizes bullishness.
There's a little arrow in there. If markets are up or down, it's nice to be optimistic.
We always love that little detail in the Robinhood logo.
Honestly, it's all about the little things in life.
If you're not on Robinhood yet, want to get started, go to Robinhood.com/Tboy and choose your free stock.
That's Robinhood.com/TBOY. Certain limitations apply. All investments involve risk.
Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. By the way, Robinhood is no longer affiliated with us or this podcast.
Great work, dude. Great work. Oh, that was really
He's not
good.
a goldfish, Nemo. He's something else.
No, that was really funny. You're like, I'm going to get a lot of heat for this.
He's not a goldfish. I know
He's
that.
like some kind of exotic clown.
I think it's like an,
right?
yeah, that's right. I think it's like an angel clownfish or something.
Someone's going to write to us and be like, actually,